Hi, this is Gloria Keith again with you with Action Speaks Heritage Excellence Education Journal. Of course, this is Sunday, August 22nd, 2021, and I have some things that I would like to share with you in reading from Harvey Jackins' book, Start Over Every Morning by Harvey Jackins. Um, the chapter that I'm going to read to you on is a favorable situation for reaching out. And hopefully that you can learn or hear some knowledge that may enlighten you on the situations that we're dealing with today and how our leadership is responding in good um, humanitarian ways. Okay, the overall situation, Harvey says, in a favorable situation for reaching out. Harvey says the overall situation we're in now seems to me very, very favorable. Any situation has positive factors and negative factors, but there's no question that progress has nudged us around a corner at this point. It's important that we take a fresh look at what's happening and just for our own morale, take a little pride in what we've accomplished. I don't think there's any question that the missile pact and the ongoing developments are in large part the result of peace activism. And this is during the time in January 1988 Peace Activist Workshop. And this particular chapter appears in as a document in present time number 92, number 72, July 1980, and piece number 1, 1988. And again, I'll say in present time number 72, 1988, and piece number 1, 1988 of the Reevaluation Counseling documents written by Harvey Jackins, along with others in the thought process. Again, and I read this to you as if this is today. The time that we're in now is very similar to the things that were going, the issues that were going on during the time that Harvey wrote this chapter. It's important that we take a fresh look at what's happened and just for our own morale, take a little pride in what we've accomplished. I don't think there's any question that the missile pact and the ongoing developments are in large part the result of peace activism. Overwhelmingly, they are the result of pressure from the people. I don't think there's any question about that. These developments are taking place because of the mass pressure of the populations in many countries. The peace movement expressed this sentiment of the people well enough, in spite of all the mistakes and weaknesses, that this factor has prodded the situation round the bend and gives us new opportunities. I'd like to remind you of some of the published White House notes about the Vietnam War. There's a little piece in there I remember well, says Harvey. This was when all the activists were feeling despairing and hopeless, were saying to their confidants, no matter how much we do, we never have any effect. Of course, the War Department and the White House were issuing bulletins 4 times a day saying, you never have any effects. It's hard not to be influenced by them. During a discussion, the general staff were urging President Johnson to bomb Hanoi, to just flatten Hanoi out. He said, well, what do you think the result will be? And the general says, we will break their will completely. We'll be able to bring the troops home. It will take care of everything, said a couple of other staff joined in supporting the general. President Johnson said, yes, and the people will tear down the White House fence and lynch their president. Unquote. This little item makes obvious how often, when people are feeling they are having no effect at all, they are really striking right to the heart of the matter and being enormously effective. Our poor brothers and sisters who are caught in these roles of general or president or chairperson of the board, of playing the most oppressive offenses, offenses roles in the collapsing society, have very little choice. They've been assigned these roles of making powerful noises, acting as if they have complete confidence and promising to stick to their guns in order to keep you afraid and wondering if it will ever be possible to have any effect. The media pour out this message. We're so used to it that we don't notice it. But every newspaper article and every television program tells you peace activists, in some ways or other, that what you're doing is useless, that you are ineffective. This comes as you several this comes at you several times a day. Actually, the people in the oppressive, warmongering positions are far more afraid than you are. Their roles are case hardened on them. They don't feel they have any choice to get out of them. And they probably can't unless one of us asks the right questions so they can discharge. In general, They are far more afraid than you are. And it is at this point, this is something that came to mind this morning when watching the news about the COVID situation and how people are arguing whether or not they should wear masks, as I have here to remind me, and should they or should they not wear the mask. Okay, my point is we know the advantages of wearing the mask, but my question is what are the advantages of not wearing the mask? Do we have any advantages? Do we know any disadvantages for wearing the mask? Think about it. So before we make decisions on something, these are questions that came to my mind, and I ask you to also think about that. Are there any disadvantages of wearing the mask? Are there any advantages for not wearing the mask? I learned this year, back to Harvey, I learned this year, this, I learned this years ago in labor negotiations. We workers would be feeling near despair. It would seem that we had held out on strike as long as we could possibly hold out against the company's overwhelming strength and confidence. And then I'd get some word from a friend I'd made in the owner's family that the management were just sick with dread that we would hold out another day. Because if we did that, they'd have to give in. The oppressors are always far more uneasy than people they oppress. I don't know if you believe me when I say that or not, but it's true, said Harvey. Always in our favor. The balance of forces is always with us. The future is always on our side when we have a good program. It's understandable that we're so timid and slow and confused and often dump our internalized oppression on each other and fight each other harder than we fight the enemy. But reality is always with us. The future is always with us. There's only one serious danger. This is lessening, at least, but there's the one big danger that the patterns and the rigidities of the class society will bring about nuclear holocausts. Aside from that danger and the stupidities of the collapsing society, everything is going our way. That may seem to be a little over optimistic in terms of the usual peace rhetoric, but it seems to me that with present technology and communications, we can lay the nuclear threat to rest. The collapsing society can be allowed to collapse gently without too much destruction of wealth and people. I would figure 50 years. I really don't think it will take more than 50 years for the earth to become a Garden of Eden with just everything going splendidly. All the non human parts of it can be returned to safety and health, and humans can be rescued from the pile up of irrational distress patterns. Even a lot of the animals that we've extinguished can be recreated with modern genetic engineering. We can bring back the mammoth that our predecessors on this continent extinguished 11,000 years ago by taking some genes from the tapir and the elephant. Undoubtedly, we can do things like that. The possibilities are just lovely. Technology. Again, Harvey expresses this, what RC really is. But here we are. We're all RCers, or we're on the edge of being RCers. There's still a lot to learn in this area of reality that we call RC. I'd like to redefine RC this morning, said Harvey. What we call RC is the best approximation we have reached so far of reality in the areas of the distress pattern where the oppressive society has offered unreality. All the things that we treasure. So, as RC knowledge, the real nature of human beings, the role of distress recordings, the role of discharge is actually just the best approximation we've reached so far of reality in this area where unreality has dominated for a long time. We've hinted at this by saying that the way to teach RC is not the way you were taught RC, because every RC teacher teaches his or her patterns to a great extent. The copying of these patterns or saying RC was what I learned 6 months ago or 4 years ago has slowed us down a great deal because RC is very different in 1988, said Harvey, as I say today in 2021, than it was in 1986 or 87. And that's when I received the certificate, the teacher certificate to teach RC in whatever part of the world I deemed necessary. It continually grows. That's one of the nice things about it. What individual RCers sometimes treat as a cult or magic information is simply the best approximation that a group of accidentally interested but dedicated people have been able to reach in thinking through the mess of unreality with which human affairs have been covered. It is but an approximation, and it's continually changing. It's improving. There's an area now that I'm asking everybody's help on. We know now that a decision preceding discharge roughly works better than discharge preceding decision. Whenever we can get the decision ahead of the discharge, we get more discharge. And I'm going deep into what reevaluation counseling in, and I don't think that my audience is ready for all of this at this time. So I'm going to end this with, let's see. Harvey says, I'm not always able to help people do it, and it may be unrealistic, but inspiring picture I'm projecting. I'm asking people at workshops to join with me in thinking about this relationship. As I counsel people, I set up the decision first whenever I can, but I wind up often having to stop and help people discharge for a long time till they even get to where they're making a repetitive decision, let alone a final one. This is an example of where we're still progressing, where we still don't know. Please help think about the issues today. This is what I'm asking. I'm adding on. I'm inserting this. Help me think about today's issues in the decisions that our leadership makes, or the best that they can humanly make at this time. God says, you do what you can do, and I'm paraphrasing this, about a situation, and I'll do the rest. So, with that, we will stop. This is an example of what we're still progressing, where we still don't know. Please help think about this one because it's important to our effectiveness as a country and as a community, as an individual human being. May God bless and keep you. Again, this is Action Speaks, Heritage Excellence Education Journal, Gloria Keith, publisher, and I could name everything else, but if you want to take a part or be a part, just let me know. And you can freely do what you can do positively. May God bless and keep you. Our Father, which art in it be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. God bless you. Action Speaks, Heritage Excellence Education Journal. Thank you for listening.